Hello, everyone, and welcome to, wait, there we go. Now you can see me. Welcome to Cold Reads. My name is Laura Nicole, and this show is brought to you by Resonant Audiobook Solutions. So Cold Reads is a show where I have my voice actors come and do a cold read of chapters or short stories that are submitted throughout the month of August. We are doing Stonebriar Casefiles, which is a book that I wrote a few years ago and then released last summer. So we are on chapter 12. But before we dive into the story and what has happened so far, I would like to introduce my lovely guests. I know that in the notes I did have that John Roberts was going to be rejoining us. Unfortunately, life happens, so he is unable to be here. But I do have a couple of other people. So why don't we start with Marleigh?
Hi, Marleigh Norton. What else am I supposed to say? I've not done this before.
Oh, right. So you say who you are and what you do.
My name is Marleigh Norton. I used to do a whole bunch of voice acting roles, mostly with Pendant Productions and with a live group here in Boston, Massachusetts, Post Meridian Radio Players.
Awesome.
Yeah, so very cool stuff. But I've been running around dealing with real life, so this is sort of like getting back into it. So thank you for having me.
Do you know that you are the second person to tell me that on this show?
Really?
That's interesting. Yeah, Paul Ellis has also been on hiatus and is just now coming back into it and using my show as a warm-up.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying that. And my other guest has been on before. You have heard him play the role of Eric. Now we're going to have him play a couple of other roles too. Timm, go ahead and tell him who you are and what you do.
I'm Timm, the Jester Gillick, known affectionately as the Jester. It's a nickname I picked up working as a bouncer for 20 years. In real life now, I work as a web designer, content supervisor for Caterpillar. But in my time, I'm a photographer, a writer. I write comics, I write audio dramas. I perform and mix audio dramas for Circus-13 Productions, which is our company. It's how I met Laura. She was Jubilee in an X-Men production that we did a few years ago.
And the first producer for Jonah Hex, too.
Yep, which I still have the rest of that to hopefully fill in a couple of roles that have been sitting for years and finish it. There's that one. We have a Star Wars one coming out, as well as our tribute to Bill Hallweg in an audio adaptation of Big Trouble in Little China.
Aww. I'm sure he would have loved it. We'll have to make sure that his family knows. For those of you who don't know, Bill Hallweg was a producer for a long time for Broken Sea Audio Productions, who passed away this year. And so, you know, a lot of the audio community is really coming together and trying to find ways to honor him. He was a big proponent of old-time radio, golden age radio, and classic pulp radio, which I really liked, and so he will be missed. So now that we've done that, oh, and I'm Laura Nicole. I run this show thing. I do Resonant Moon Audiobook Solutions, and I do voices. I do silly voices, and in the daytime, I'm an assistant, because that's how I roll. So today we're doing chapter 12. Let's do a quick recap, and I'm going to tell my fabulous cast who they are playing. So far, Beatrix Stonebriar, Fairy CSI, has been sent home to the Elderwood to wait the trial of her attacker who took her life, but she was brought back. Hang on, I lost my mind. So she came back to the Elderwood, and when she got there, she found that someone had laid out 7 dead baby fairies on her front doorstep. So clearly she's not going to rest while she's back. She's going to be figuring out who did this horrendous crime. Along the way to finding clues, she meets up with her friend Turek, a goblin who was part of a band of misfits that she used to be a part of called The Watch, who patrolled the Elder Wood and acted as a liaison between the different races. She also met up with Eric Moonrunner, another member of the Watch, and has rekindled a deeper friendship with him. Then they found that the design that the tulips were in was actually a rune, which was revealed is a rune for change through ruin, or conform through ruin. And it was placed on her doorstep by the son of her attacker, Jack Haggerty Jr., and his beloved Alina. They had meant to do a spell to incite change so that there would be understanding between the races and that there would be peace between the races. But a mistranslation has got them into a whole bunch of trouble. The scrolls that the youths had used required a potion to be brewed in order to incite this change, and they found that it was left under Beatrix's tree. And so where we pick up is traveling to Beatrix's Stonebriar, for which she is named, with the two young lovers and Eric and Turek in tow. Now, my cast. Marleigh, you are going to be playing the part of Vervain Oakroot. She is one of the elders of the fairies, and she has an axe to grind with Beatrix because Beatrix is the person who exposed their world to humans, and just has a lot of rage. Well, not rage, a lot of disdain for her and for bringing in other people and threatening the fairies. But she is also fiercely devoted to giving her knowledge to protect the fairies. So just keep that in mind as the script goes on. There's also a quick line for Alina, who is about 19 or 20 in human years, like in appearance and maturity, but she's actually probably closer to 100 years old. Jester, you are going to be reprising your role as Eric Moonrunner, and I'm also going to have you do double duty as Rixon Amberstone. Now, Rixon Amberstone is also a fairy elder. He is Beatrix's mentor. He's very used to solving problems. He is pretty wise. But the last time we saw him in the book, he and Beatrix had a fight. And so he's coming to her with his tail between his legs.
Gotcha.
Everybody good?
Yeah, I had some logistical questions, though.
Sure.
What do we do when we flub? Do you want us to just power through it or pick up the line again?
Power through it. Like I said, this is cold reads. And
okay.
That is what I love about cold reads. And we can talk about, if you want to make a note so we can talk about it afterwards in the postmortem of the show, please go for it, because that's the other point of this show.
Pressure's on, man.
Hey, dude, don't worry about it. It's fun. This is fun.
Okay.
This is not going to be the audiobook, but it's fun.
All right.
So I'm going to go ahead and share the document as I always do, and I will have it present to everyone. And without further ado, we shall move forward with Stonebriar Casefiles, Chapter 12. Sure enough, just under a rock, not 20 human feet from my home, and closer still to where the young wildlings were buried, a concealed brew was bubbling. The heat was self-contained, and the liquid varied in color from green to brown to purple and back. Read off the ingredients, Eric, I said. He complied and ran down the list.
Wolfsbane, nettles, dead man's skin, belladonna, snake scales, and blood of the flowers.
Is there any kind of counter spell that's listed on there? Anything that we can use? I asked. Like leaping backward 100 times? Turek laughed. The rest of us weren't amused. Sorry, just thought I'd try to lighten the mood.
There they are.
The call hit me harder than a swooping harpy. Vervain Oakroot was back and had an even bigger following than last time.
And she has brought this filth with her. How dare you bring a goblin and a human to our homes?
Keep reading, I told Eric. Then, with what meager patience I could muster, I went to confront the poisonous Vervain. Look, Madame Oakroot, there is more to this than you know.
Oh, really? Something that you are no doubt to blame for. You are a disgrace, throwing your lot in with all of these other creatures.
Vervain's scowl could have wilted me when I was younger, but not any longer. Shut up, old crone, I yelled. That got her mad. In fact, she was so heated that some of the crowd had to back away from her as her light gave off actual heat, too. She opened her mouth to spew more word vomit at me, but I talked over her thoughts. I have found those responsible for severing the tulips. The crowd instantly turned their attention to the strangers behind me. Their bloodlust was just above a grumble. I held my ground. Before you all get any ideas, I have full intention to bring them before the joint magistrates for a hearing. But for now, I am utilizing them to prevent an additional curse.
What are you talking about?
Vervain said over the din. Derir tri rune. There were gasps from the crowd. So, some of you know what that spell can do. That's good. Who would be the most knowledgeable about it? Silence. Look, if no one speaks up, I will not be able to stop whatever it is from happening. No one spoke. All right, can anyone read the old language? For once, I saw Vervain in a meek stance. She looked up at me with a sliver of fragility that I had never expected to see in her eyes.
I can read the old language. Books is better, but if we cannot stop this, we will need to protect our library.
There was a great deal I did not like about Vervain Oakroot, but at least she had some perspective and kept her priorities in check. Great. Head over to the group behind me and see what you can make of the scrolls. She scowled at having me give her orders, but complied. The rest of you, gather all the Fae you can, as Speedy Flyer needs to go and warn the neighboring races. A youthful male raised his hand. Good. Make fairy dust, kid. When you're done, get back here as quickly as possible. The boy was as good as his word and raced off, leaving a burst of sparkling dust in his wake. Again, I got the crowd's attention. We need to form a protective barrier. Start growing as many toadstools around the village. Start growing as many toadstools as you can around the village as possible. Start at the mother tree and make a full circle before you start growing. I don't want to see a single gap. The Fae dispersed with one exception. My mentor stood solemnly, looking over at me like a wounded animal. He started. The pause seemed to last a few minutes. The world was rushing around us, There was no time for this hesitation, but I could not bring myself to further scold my teacher.
I want to help, to make amends for what I said. I have spent too long brooding over events that are long past.
I flew over to him gently and placed a hand on his shoulder. We may need to gather materials depending on what Vervain finds. Will you help us in that? He nodded. Even if it means seeking out the trolls and goblins?
I will do what I must to protect our home.
Together, we walked over to the group crowded around the scrolls taken by Alina. Vervain was flying high above the group to get a better look at the spell, though now that the concoction was mixing with the open air, the smell was slightly nauseating. How does it look? I asked.
Worse than it smells.
She didn't turn to look at me. If it had been any other time, I would have made some comment about her being civil to me, and how the criers of the Elder Wood should make this auspicious occasion a holiday. The gravity of our situation held back my sarcasm.
Tell us, Vervain,
said Rickson.
We cannot simply dispose of the cursed potion, nor can we counteract it. If we let it seep into the ground, it will set the very earth around us against all non-plant sentient beings. What options do we have?
Asked Alina. She looked to Jack. I had a bad feeling about whatever she was thinking.
Someone or something will have to drink it,
Vervain said solemnly.
Once the body has absorbed the curse, the curse will use its host and the liquid will cease to be a threat.
I will drink it, the lovers said in unison. I held up my hands. Don't be so eager, you two. We do not even know what it will do to you. They'll probably die, said Turek. I only know a handful of beings that might, and mind you, that is only a slight fraction of a chance, survive this.
It isn't meant to kill,
said Vervain.
It is meant to bring about the instrument of change. If you were to drink this, my assumption is that it would cause the drinker to become that instrument of change. I am not certain, nor do I want to know.
Agreed, I nodded. If it turned out that this instrument of change were to come about, then it would likely mean that we would have to kill them or incapacitate them in some way. Rickson's mind was working. I could tell when he had a far-off look, and his eyes darted back and forth as though he was reading something.
Could we counteract the curse once the drinker was unconscious?
I think having them throw up would again bring the potion back out onto the land, and we might be back at square one, but with one less person. That, and I did not look like the look that I was getting from the group around me.
I meant a potion of something that would balance the curse out,
Rickson said. Turek spoke up again. Trolls are the best alchemists around. If we bring them a list of ingredients, they might be able to figure something out.
How much time do we have?
Eric asked.
A day, perhaps 2, if we are lucky,
Vervain said. Rickson and I looked at each other. He knew what I would ask of him.
Here's what we are going to do,
he started.
Moonrunner, you and the young elfling here will go back to the Silver Bark and return the scrolls once Vervain has finished making a copy. Find out anything you can about stopping this.
He turned to Alina.
The elves may have you pay for your crime now. If that is the case, you and your young man had better say farewell.
The two got up from their knees and headed just over the hill. We could still hear their voices, but not what was said. Rickson continued.
Vervain, once you finish copying these texts, set up a watch around the potion. If it changes, I want all of us to know. Everyone else should get as much rest as they can and store any excess fairy dust close by. Then go to books and search for any potential solutions with him.
And what of the boy?
She asked.
Let him keep vigil over the blasted thing. Even as all other watch standards pass, he will remain. That will be a start to his sentence.
Rickson said. Turek looked at me. We're taking the old man to the trolls, aren't we? Yep. Is he going to fuss? If he does, he will do it silently, I replied. It takes time to work through hate. The fact that he is willing to try is a good start. The youngsters came back and gave each other one final embrace before Alina went off with Eric to meet her fate. Vervain fixed her eyes on the youth in front of her and proceeded to take the stance of a good scolding. We left Jack in her capable hands while we turned southwest to Troll's Hollow. Bum, bum, bum.
Yay!
Yay! So that was fun. That was like old times. Going back and forth between Turek and Trixie is hard.
Yeah, I like spaced. I was concentrating so much on Vervain, I'd forgotten you cast.
You forgot that you had that one other line.
I was like, wait, what? Why are we not talking? Oh, because I'm not saying anything. That is what's going on.
So what did you guys think of the experience?
I enjoyed it this much.
It's kind of fun to just sort of.
No, go ahead.
Just kind of go ahead and like just run through a script like that. I'm so used to reading through it and then like doing a whole bunch of takes to get like each line just so, and to just sort of like have to just like do it on the fly there and like switch between voices and stuff was kind of challenging, but also kind of fun.
Right. And I mean, that's one of the things I'm really liking about this experiment project, is that you get kind of a feel of a live read of a, or dress rehearsal, if you will, because you can play off of each other, which is one of the really fun things that I've been enjoying about this project.
Yeah, all the years of playing D&D and playing multiple characters have paid off finally.
Yeah. Hey, listen,
There you go.
I'm gonna be starting playing or running a campaign of a role-playing game, not D&D, but I've got a couple of other games that I'm going to try running. So I will be putting my voice acting to the test. Speaking of which, I will be watching Critical Role in a few minutes once we finish, because it's my favorite D&D show on the internet, where a bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors like us play D&D.
Awesome.
So they make me happy. And one thing I wanted to mention yesterday, and I didn't really, I didn't know how to bring it up. I did not realize that this would be as timely as it is, where the characters are working through prejudices and racism. I don't want to get too political, but my heart does go out to all of those people that were injured and hurt in Charlottesville, and and anybody who is going to marches over the weekend, just be safe, and make sure you have phone numbers written down on your skin so that you don't lose it. Stay hydrated and have emergency contacts. I would hate to see anybody lose their life for standing up for what's right, which is, in my opinion, and I think it's the opinion of the majority of people, that human beings are allowed to live and be who they are and should not have to live in fear because of their skin color, their orientation, or anything like that. They should be allowed to seek out life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Anyway, sorry, I brought this whole thing down. Let's get back into the swing of things. Any other notes from you guys on this particular chapter and the experience?
I think there was one or two sentences in like two different spots where you stumbled and you like looked at it, and it's like you were trying to figure out how you were saying it in your head when it was written.
Right.
And it's just like you just want to.
It was actually.
I can see you actually sitting there like trying to reword it, and it's like, how can I make this get the point across right? And it's like, okay, let me try this, and then you went through it. So.
Actually, so what happens is when I share the PDF, sometimes on my screen the lines get kind of weird, which is why you see me highlight things, because that's how I fix it, because I cannot see lines. So that's actually what's happening. But I do that sometimes on the fly when I'm recording my own stuff, or when I'm recording somebody else's thing and it looks like this is what they meant, so I record it the way it's written, and then I record it how I think it's supposed to be. That way it gives the author director the option to use my corrected version or to use the script version.
I've been having Asher, my soon-to-be 9-year-old son, read any scripts I've got with me to go back and forth. If he stumbles too much, I rework it a little bit. But generally, if it reads through and he can understand it, I think I'm all good.
I think that's excellent.
It's also interesting. I've been doing some script writing at work. And I think, my default is when I'm writing something, I write based on, written grammar. Mm-hmm. And the thing I've been sort of learning as I'm writing scripts for other people to deliver is that maybe throwing like some of the punctuation rules out the window and reappropriating them for delivery hints. Putting in commas where, if there's clauses that need to go together, here's where you need to take a breath, put a comma in there, even if that's not the grammatically correct way to put it, just sort of to help the actor out and things like that. It's sort of an interesting way of thinking about things.
That's awesome. Great. So I want to thank my wonderful guests for being on the show, and I will hand it over to you guys in turn to tell people where they can find you on the internet. We will start with Marleigh.
Oh gosh. So I, as I've mentioned, have been getting out of voice acting for a while, but I'm happy to do some more. But I guess the only link I have is actually to my professional portfolio. So my website is web.mit.edu/Marleigh, which is spelled M-A-R-L-E-I-G-H.
Awesome. Are you on the Twitter?
I am technically on the Twitter, but I mostly use it to rant about Nazis these days. But that is that is in fact Marleigh as well. So at M-A-R-L-E-I-G-H.
Awesome. And Timm?
Circus-13 Productions. If you just search for that phrase, you'll find me all over the place on Facebook. Circus13productions.com. My cosplay photography is at photos.circus13productions.com. And we have some web comics as well, some of them that are being turned into audio productions here in the next year or so, probably about 2 or 3, I think, and that's at comics.circus13productions.com. As for Twitter, I've got a few. There's Circus-13 Prod, P-R-O-D, that's the main one for Circus-13 Productions. Jester Writer, W-R-I-T-E-R, that's where I try some mostly lame jokes, rant about different things, talk about different stuff. I have a great one on there about people who tell actors to stop being political, shut up and make movies. You should really go check that one out. I'm actually proud of that one. What else do I have? Circus-13 Comics is also on Twitter. So.
Awesome. And I have all of these links in the show notes. If you would like to participate in cold reads, you can drop me a line. The email is Laura Nicole audio at gmail.com, LauraNicoleaudio at gmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at LNicoleAudio. Let's see here. What else? You can find out about Resonant Moon Resonant Moon Audiobook Solutions at resonantmoon.com. That is my personal company where I do editing, audio editing for podcasts, audiobooks. I do QC for podcasts and audiobooks, and I'm not taking any narration jobs right now because of my workload. But once I am, I will let you know. And then I just made a Facebook group for cold reads. And so that is cold reads. So go on to Facebook and search for @cold_reads and you will find it. And all you have to do is ask to be a member, and I will certainly add you. If you would like spoilers for Stonebriar Casefiles, the link is in the show notes, and you can buy my book. I'd like that a lot. Once we get to 20 viewers, or 20 subscribers, I will do my happy dance again, and you know you all want to see my happy dance again. So please go ahead and click the subscribe button if you like what I'm doing. As of September, we are going to start accepting submissions for short stories, and I'm always looking for new voices. You know, if you've been out of the voice acting game for a while, if you've never voice acted before and you want to give it a shot, this is the place to do it, because I have great people and they give positive feedback and encouragement. We're all about encouragement here. This show is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License, which means that you can download it, you can share it, you can repost it. Just don't change anything because it's perfect just the way it is, just like you. And just make sure that you link back to this YouTube page. That's all I ask. It's not a big deal. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my wonderful guests for being on the show. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow with more cold reads. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.